Councilor Mowry.
I just want to make sure that I'm understanding this proposal and this amendment correctly. What we're setting out to do here is to help the restaurants and help the businesses using these delivery fees, or these delivery services rather.
I'm sorry, was that a question for one of the...
Yeah, is that what we're aiming out to do right now, is to help those businesses?
I can respond, Mr. President.
Yes, Councilor Barth.
Yeah, the intent is during the pandemic, in any scenario where the government is limiting capacity on restaurants, that this ordinance would require a reasonable approach from third-party delivery systems that, as we know and described during the committee, charge up to 30% and sometimes more when you add fees. And what's surprising to me, and I think to Councilor Potts during our investigation of this process, that we learned there are circumstances that third-party delivery apps acknowledged happen where they service businesses who have not asked for them or have not contracted with them. And so we need to ensure that there's rationality and common sense in the fees that are applied, because when 30% or more is applied, our local businesses don't make any money. And they are willing to participate in it only because they have no choice to maintain customer loyalty, and it does help with some cash flow, but they do not make money in those scenarios. So we really put our local businesses at risk if we don't take appropriate action, especially to protect them during the pandemic.
I appreciate the explanation. Thank you for that. And here's just this councilor's thoughts on helping local businesses stay afloat. If we really want them to succeed, if we really want to help them, let's get with Dr. Kane and say, let's open them back up. Let's let the market decide who wins and who loses. Let's quit picking winners and losers here, and let's get back into the business of putting business first. Because right now what we've done is created so much regulation and red tape for these businesses. They've had trouble staying afloat. They have gone under because of the regulations and the restrictions put on them now. Instead of 30% going to Uber Eats or DoorDash, how about 30% more people in the restaurant? How about we help them get there? Let's move forward with opening these restaurants back up and really letting them succeed, and not have to worry about DoorDash or Uber Eats and what fees they may charge. Let's open the restaurants back up.
Very, very good. Thank you. Councilor Boots.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. President. Just a quick comment. I'm a firm believer that we need to let the evidence and science dictate what opens, and I would not want to make a rash decision to open for the sake, letting the market decide who wins and loses also decides who lives and dies. And I think that's a ridiculous position. So I would urge us. If you don't feel safe, stay at home. I'm sorry, Councilor Mowry, I'm speaking.
So one councilor at a time. Continue, Councilor Boots.
I would just encourage us to see the light here and appreciate what we're trying to do, and keep our eye on the ball and not be distracted by these other suggestions. Thank you.
Very good. Councilor Hart.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just have a question for one of the co-sponsors. How many local businesses did you reach out to and get your input from when writing this proposal?
Councilor Barth or Councilor Potts? Either one of you wish to answer?
Councilor Potts, I'll defer to you if you'd like to jump in.
I mean, Councilor Hart, I can't say that I kept a tally individually as we had these conversations, but I can assure you that between Councilor Barth and myself, as well as the conversations we had with the Indiana Restaurant and Lodging Association. It represented at least a dozen different locally owned restaurants, and we've heard these comments throughout this pandemic that these fees sort of placed an undue hurdle on these local businesses, and they were the ones we were elected to represent. So we're doing our part here tonight to ease their burden through the pandemic. Thank you.
Slow.
May I respond, Mr. President?
All right. Yes, Councilor Hart, please go ahead.
Yep. My response is that a dozen is far less than 1% of all businesses in Marion County, and to draft a proposal that states the percentage of a service fee is obtuse, to say the least, and I cannot support something that the local government to mandate what these percentages are. So I'll be a firm no this evening.
Very good. Vice President Adamson.
Thank you, Mr. President. I had a lot to say after the initial comment, and Councilor Boots really summed a great deal of that up. But I would say, finally, just to sum that up, that I would prefer that we, as a group of leaders for this community, would let science rather than political rhetoric lead the way when doing issues related to public health. Thank you, Mr. President.
Very good. Councilor McCormick.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just wanted to echo Councilor Vice President Adamson. Data-driven decisions need to make our policy. Dr. Kane is in charge of what happens with our health. We need to make sure our companies, our businesses, and our communities are viable and they can sustain during this pandemic. And so what Councilors Barth and Potts have put forward ensures that. So we're not talking about the profits for a national organization. We're talking about the sustainability and ensure that our community members are able to pay their rents and survive. That's what we're looking at with this. And so I wholeheartedly support this and encourage my fellow councilors to do the same.
Very good. Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Barth.
Thank you for the opportunity to speak again, Mr. President. I'll just wrap up any comments I have by saying I'm the counselor for District 7 here in Indianapolis, and my job, among many, is to support our local restaurants. I've spoken to many of our local restaurants, up to and including this weekend, when I went out and got carry out from a local restaurant and spoke to the manager who I've gotten to know during the pandemic to try to understand how his business has thrived or not during the pandemic and how he has survived. He hadn't heard about this proposal, and when I told him about it, he couldn't have been more excited and was really thankful that we were moving forward with it. What I will tell you is what I don't represent is Silicon Valley and the investors in DoorDash and Uber Eats. Those folks can take care of themselves. My job right here locally is to focus on the grassroots and support our local restaurants, and I think that's what this does.
Thank you. Very good. Councilor Jones.
Thank you, Mr. President. I would like to address the comment, just stay home if you're scared of COVID and catching it. The employees that work in those restaurants don't have that opportunity to stay home. And so for the protection of them, let's please vote yes on this proposal. Please protect those employees. They don't have that option. And let's please adhere, as Councilor McCormick said, to Dr. Kane's. Until we're there, we're almost there. We can see the finish line. The vaccines are working and we can see the finish line. So for right now, let's adhere to the regulations that we have, and let's help those employees that do have to go to work, that do have to support their families. They don't have the option to stay home. We can stay home, but they can't. So thank you.
Very good. Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Carlino.
Thank you, Mr. President. I was just thinking about asking if I could be added as a co-sponsor if our authors are accepting this evening. Thank you.
Yes, please. Thank you, Councilor.
Thank you, Councilor. All right. Are there any additional comments from councilors? Councilor Ethan Adams.
Thank you, President Osei. I just wanted to double what Councilor Carlino said and ask if council to be added as a co-sponsor as well. Thank you, Councilor Todd.
Thank you.